So the news of the day isn't really all that surprising. I'm starting to see a pattern, specifically when it comes to companies like Disney. They give out some really bad vibes in the form of ideas that they release to the general public, and then they try to adjust as a backlash starts to show up. And Disney's been forced into that position for a long, long time. Conversation I wanted to have a little bit last week was the fact that when it comes to Star Wars, Disney has been in full retreat mode. In fact, there was a video made by one of the people that I respect very much this week that says Disney's basically paralyzed at this point when it comes to Star Wars, and that's 100% the correct assessment. If you look at it, they're incapable and kind of a little bit afraid of moving forward on any of the concepts or film ideas or even show ideas that they've had. And I've talked about this at length where they, announce these projects and then we never see them. And I think we're going to continue to see that pattern when it comes to Star Wars and anything Lucasfilm specifically because they've failed so miserably with their products recently. But returning to Disney proper and to their very origin, their very beginning, from the humblest of animations to the first theatrical film, full length film that they released, going way back, all the way to Snow White. And when you look at that film, you think, wow, that thing is brilliant, beautiful, wonderful, spectacular. It was so good, in fact, that it received special recognition from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts. That's right, they won special Oscars, one full size one and seven smaller ones, honoring the seven dwarves, which Disney seemingly can't bring themselves to do these days. So as we move into this element of conversation, we have to acknowledge that there was a great article written about this very effect from our friends over at That Park Place. And what happens is Disney says we're going to do this, and they get some actor, actress, or some other mouthpiece coming out talking about it, and it draws such negative reaction that they have to pivot. And Disney's in a constant state of pivoting instead of relying on what was tried and true because they've decided to be a progressive cultural mouthpiece full of the message and obviously a political agenda, and it works to their detriment every single time. So once again, from our friends over at That Park Place, and again, we're sponsored by my brand, Beach Punk. You can find that at beachpunk.us. There's a bunch of great merchandise over there. We added a whole new set of products and things. Toxic Man Flu's been working over there quite diligently, and we are expanding our offerings. And when the cultured hair and body products come out, that's where we'll be selling them from. We'll even have a subscription service over there. But enough of that. If we look over here, we've got the exclusive Rachel Zegler story here saying that she's rumored to have a reduced role. And we've been talking about this for a bit. And the article was written by, one of the amazing content creators here, WDW Pro. And this was published yesterday, and I'm just making it to it today because yesterday was a packed day as far as news goes. In fact, I have yet to find a day when it's not completely full of news. But anyway, the Hollywood starlet has not done much to endear herself with the industry, coworkers, or fans. I'm not sure that could be delivered with any more politeness than to say it that way. So well done there. But this article's written based on a source that they believe to be reliable, but obviously they're not able to tell you who it is. What's amazing is the consistency of record when it comes to WDW Pro and That Park Place. We're looking at a 90 plus percentile. They're doing pretty well, better than the mainstream. So anyway, Rachel has made quite a name for herself in Hollywood. It's not all good. Maybe most of it isn't. Sure, she made some inroads, but with the ideologues and the zealots, but then she went after, Gina Carano, and obviously that's where that all came from. But going after Jeremy Renner might have been a pretty bad look, obviously, because he allowed himself to get run over by a snowplow in protection of others. So she probably landed in a bad look. But if you see this tweet going back to 2019, thanks for digging this up, Pro. She says some really ridiculous and terrible things. And this is not uncommon for her. In fact, anytime she opens her mouth, there's a decent chance she's going to undercut whatever she's working on. And then, of course, when she was referencing the prince in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, she called him a creeper. Well, I think it was a stalker, but it's okay, Pro. Well done. Anyway, so, yeah, we could go on for probably a novella's worth of appropriate critiques for Rachel Zegler, a woman who has yet to experience a true bona fide box office success. This is true. And Hunger Games hitting half of its potential came from a decade ago. Doesn't count. What's funny is, yeah, that film really did draw from an older audience, but it was written so that it could pull those people back in. I've talked about this at length to why that film actually was not as disappointing as I anticipated it to be when I went to go see it. It was actually pretty well done for the most part, and fortunately, Zegler wasn't the key element there. In fact, I think that's going to be a noted statement going forward. If she's not the lead or if she's not anything important to the story, things are going to probably be better. But anyway, perhaps it's why Disney just might be feeling very unsure about moving forward with Zegler as Snow White. No kidding. So now with a year's worth of delays, it's back to the drawing board, and I agree. I think she made it very clear that they would need to start again, and they kind of have. So according to a source, we believe that we have accurate information. Disney has been looking for a way to soften the image of Snow White. You don't have to soften the image of Snow White. You just have to rid yourself of Rachel Zegler. So according to the source, the amount of reshoots they need for Zegler is prohibitively intense, I would agree. It also doesn't make sense to try and have her play the role in a more heartwarming and traditional manner if she's also playing it quite differently in the original footage. Well, that's a solid statement. As an example, the source says the chances of Rachel convincingly singing Someday My Prince Will Come after her interviews to be about as zero can be, and I agree with that. There's no chance that she's going to be able to carry off any of the old tunes because nobody's going to believe her, especially when she holds the prince in such low regard. She doesn't think it's important to have a romantic companion, a partner through life that you're looking for. You know, the pursuit of every single human being on the planet for the most part. So, yeah, so Disney has come up with plan C or D or whatever. So, anyway, it's a plan that you wouldn't go with unless you were really, really stuck. And that's true. So, the source claims that Disney hired a young actress to play Snow White as a child. Really, if you're doing this, all you're trying to do is fluff out the front end of the story, or maybe in flashbacks, which the audience hates, and wouldn't be very consistent with the original film. Not that Zegler's film was going to be very consistent with the original animated classic, which is the only way that these live action films seem to work. The minute you deviate too widely from the source material, specifically a visual medium like animation, you turn the audience off. And we've seen examples of that. Anyway, that's my thoughts, not pros, but hopefully he would have similar views. Anyway, of course, edits have not begun for these scenes as we believe they're not shot yet. No, they're not shot yet. So things could change. That said, if they do go forward with significant cutaways to Snow White as a child, which probably will be what they'll do, this is a deviation from the original and 100% right. And when you know it, after receiving this information last week, it turns out that there are sites reporting that Disney has indeed hired a young actress to take the role. And that would mean they're actively inserting a new childhood portion of the movie that wasn't originally planned. Well, there you go. By the way, I would believe this because over at Inside the Magic, Amelia Foucher, who actually does some good reporting over there, will play the young version of Rachel Zegler's Snow White. They picked up their info from Diz Insider, but unfortunately, the original report is not working at time of publication. So there you are. As for whether or not Amelia Foucher is up to taking on the role and softening the overall film's tone and portrayal, well, she's just about the cutest kid you'll find, and there you go. So we don't usually worry too much about that. And child actresses are amazing. Just go back to the time where you saw. Oh goodness, what was her name? Anna Kendrick. Yes, Anna Kendrick as a child. She was just amazing. Just a tenacious performer. Just ridiculous from the very beginning and completely authentic. She's one of those few that she's much like herself, that you've seen in interviews in person. She's just that kind of a firecracker, always telling the truth, which is a weird thing to do in Hollywood when you're usually encouraged to lie all the time, whether you're in front of the camera or not. Moving forward. But of course, for all the cuteness of Amelia Foucher and the opportunity of a child's lifetime, Disney doesn't feel they can run with Rachel Zegler as Snow White the way they once did. Well, I would say that she doomed that. Rachel Zegler, that is. By the way, you can catch this story on That Park Place if you want to go through it and check out the references that are here, because as with everything they do, they have their sources. So anyway, we'll get back to the final end of this and say it feels like Disney is ready to do anything they can to convince families that they get it. They don't get it. They don't get it. Yeah, and he continues, and they need to get it. They needed to get away from Snow White, who's portrayed as a socialist revolutionary leading a rebellion in Germany, which I would say was not part of the original story. Wasn't part of the original animation, to be sure. And I don't recall any of that from the fairy tale. I will say this is a very well-written article, as you would expect from WDW Pro. And, well, what does that tell you? Tells you we're miles away from what we should be looking at when it comes to family entertainment. We should not be receiving propaganda messages about a socialist revolution leading a rebellion in Germany, because that's really not what the story is about. On that note, I want to say thank you for joining me today on this one, a little quickie video, and hopefully we'll get some more out there. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others. Oh, and I'll ask you a question before we end. Are you going to see the new Rachel Zegler Snow White? The only reason I'll see it is because of you, because I see movies, so you don't have to. Anyway, have a great day, folks. Until next time, see ya.